I think we are. There we are. Good morning. Wake up, Patriots. Hope you're doing well. It's a little chilly in West Palm Beach, and I don't want to complain or anything, but I got to deal with this staff that can't count. And then yesterday, one of the audio people forgot to put her mic on. We learned after the show, so that's why I had to hand her mic. And I don't want to name anyone, but they might have been saying on the air that I needed some new jokes. I will no longer make fun of Yana for not being able to count, but I will. You might hear her laughing about, but I will make fun of her now for being an audio person who can't turn on audio. So anyway, I hope you're doing well. How about Colorado? We're just teasing. Jan did a great job, by the way. If you didn't see, uh, dip into Rumble after the show. Could be something cool over Christmas weekend, by the way. Catch up on old episodes if you're a newcomer or even if you're an old timer. Deborah Lynn and all the folks who've been here from day one are day ones. Over the holidays, we'll try to do some live shows next week, of course, but there'll be some days off with Christmas and whatnot. And yesterday's at the end, if you missed it, Melissa Raj is great with her new book, and she runs the Lindale Recovery Network. But if you missed it, Yana, one of our behind the scenes folks, came on live and talked about the Bible and faith and how it applies to what's happening in this upside down world right now. A lot of people responded. We appreciate that. That's part of the reason why it gets this great kid family. So, Colorado. We were very careful on N2. We had this breaking news: Donald Trump taken off the ballot, at least temporarily, off the Republican primary ballot in Colorado. And I immediately said, "Hey, this could be bad. You've got to be on in the states, right? Especially as it applies to the general election. I mean, he's got the GOP nomination pretty much sewn up." But we were also careful to immediately put a Trump lawyer on who said, "Look, we're going to take this Supreme Court and we're going to win." And as it settled, uh, in real time last night, and then especially waking up this morning. We've got a Frank Luntz clip that is just incredible. Luntz hates Trump and is basically saying they might have just elected Trump. And I think Luntz's reasoning really applies here. It's not just Teflon, and I'll dip into the live chat in a second and see what you guys think. But what the heck is this where basically they're turning lights off and turning lights on? No, not that part. I'm just kidding. They are changing things on the fly here. It's cool. We got a great set though. We got to download the VNN app. Wake Up Patriots. Watch us every morning, 8 a.m. Eastern. But what is it where you always have to be careful in news in general about your first reaction, because these things have a way of playing out a little differently than everyone's first impression. But with Trump, it's like on steroids, because immediately you saw, we're going to play Jamie Raskin, who's so worried about threats to democracy, now loves this threat to democracy somehow, and ran over an MSNBC immediately and said, "This is a great day. We're so excited. Trump's done." And it's like, how many times have they said Trump is done? And you wake up this morning, you say, I'm thinking of the Tucker clip from some weeks ago, and he's often prescient on these things. And he was saying, they threw these fake impeachment at him, impeachments, I should say, plural, multiple criminal indictments. And after each indictment, the first one, New York, whoa, 37 count, whatever, whoa. And then you actually read the indictment. You're like, this is some BS accounting thing. And they've tried to take a misdemeanor, turn it into a felony. And all the breathless coverage was ridiculous. And you keep going to each one, the federal ones, and then the Georgia one. Georgia, he can't pardon himself if he wins. It's a state crime. It's state crimes. And you're looking at these state crimes, and they don't really look like they're going to hold up. Think about the J6 case by one Jack Smith, deranged Jack Smith, as former President Trump calls him. And now the Supreme Court is also not just looking at the Colorado ballot issue and likely to rule in President Trump's favor, but the Supreme Court's now looking at this J6 the statute that's been used in J6, I should say. It's a felony that's been on the books a long time. And it looks like it's been misused to not just go after President Trump, but over 300 patriots out there from J6. We're getting into some new info, by the way, on J6 in a few minutes with Ralph and Chuck. But half of Jack Smith's J6 case against Donald Trump is based on this faulty statute that the Supreme Court may say that's an overreach. So time after time, the initial reaction is BS about Trump. And then here we are last night. It's like, whoa, this could be bad. And you wake up this morning, you say, no. this is just going to piss people off more. This is going to fire up his base. And then there's people like Frank Luntz who hate Trump who are saying, look, I'm not happy about this, but this is bad for the establishment. It plays right into Trump. They play into Trump's hands. He's saying they're out to get me. And then these deranged Democrats in Colorado try to get him. And so instead of saying, no, we're going to ignore him, we're going to focus on the economy, we're going to make inflation better, they don't have a good hand on all that. All they have is Trump Nazi, Trump Orange Man bad. You go back to the original Orange Man bad, and it ain't working. So we're going to talk to Ralph and Chuck about that. We're also going to talk next hour to Dr. Carol Swain. She's obviously been way ahead of the curve on Claudine Gay and the Harvard situation. And there's some new word salads from the vice president. Because remember, I think Carol said that this is the DEI presidency, the diversity, equity, inclusion. And that applies. That's not, she wasn't just as a black woman taking a shot at another black woman in Kamala Harris, although there's plenty to take shots at there. She's talking about Joe Biden, that Biden is the ultimate, I think she said last week on the show that he's the DEI president, that his whole administration was based on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And look at where we are. That if you think back to our conversation yesterday with Dave Walsh and Tony Schaefer, you have to have diversity of thought. It's not just about skin color. We should, of course, have people of all backgrounds and religion. But where are those DEI folks on the left when folks at Harvard are calling for genocide of Jews? Diversity, equity, inclusion doesn't apply to Jewish students? Well, their reasoning is just such horse crap. It's just unbelievable. So I've got Dr. Carol Swain coming up, and Ralph and Chuck are going to have some fun. I think Ralph was working on some Biden Christmas carols that I think it's become a little tradition for the Ked family. We like that. On this date, 1922, the BBC began broadcasting a daily newscast at 6 p.m. I saw that this morning. And I'm thinking, wait a second, we now have a 6 p.m. Eastern broadcast at N2. And I saw Ralph in the live chat on Rumble, Deb, and so many other great Patriots. So we had the breaking news live. That's part of the reason why we try to have the signature news show at 6 p.m. to 8 if you're not watching already. And come on, because we had some incredible breaking stories. Then we dipped into President Trump in Waterloo, Iowa. 1938 on this day, the first electronic television is patented. And here we are now with streaming. Download the VNN app. Make sure you're watching Wake Up Patriots every single day here on Rumble and a lot more platforms in the new year. 1963, the Berlin Wall opened for the first time. And then I'm thinking this, 1989 in this date, U.S. troops under the first President Bush invaded Panama to depose Manuel Noriega. Remember that? It was kind of a bizarre situation, but Bush 1 was struggling, and that kind of got him over the hump for a brief time that he finally took out Noriega. But just think about how much simpler the world was back then, that now we have much more complicated situation. I mean, these Houthi rebels, we lit up John Kirby last night on Newsmax 2. He's out there yesterday saying we're still deciding whether to redesignate the Houthi rebels as terrorists. Well, what's it going to take? There's already been over 100 attacks on U.S. assets and ships and everything in the Mideast. And we can't decide whether or not the Houthi rebels are terrorists. And oh, by the way, why might we need to designate them as a terror group? Well, because Biden came in 2021 and removed the Trump designation of the Houthi rebels as terrorists. So Biden said, no, they're not terrorists in 2021. And now they're red-faced, realizing, oh, wait, actually they are. And they're backed by Iran, which is the big part of it. But he loves Iran, right? He gave them the $6 billion in sanctions relief right before October 7th. What a disaster of a presidency. I know a lot of people are thinking, we're going to get to Hunter in a minute. There's more breaking news on him. But everyone, when you get ready for these Ralph Christmas carols, everyone always talks about Elf on the Shelf. I never really had that as a tradition. I don't understand that whole thing. But the Babylon Bee has a new tradition.
And you should be ashamed.
Greta on the Shelf is
It's going to be Greta on the Shelf.
this Christmas. Get the fun activity your kids will love. Greta on the Shelf.
Greta sees you when you're sleeping. She knows when you drive your SUV to the store instead of taking public transportation. She knows if you've been bad or carbon neutral, so be carbon neutral for goodness sake.
I want you to be hopeful. I want you to
Your children will love finding the Greta doll in new locations each day. When they do, she'll shame them for destroying the world. Perfect for the holiday season.
Okay, kids, can you find Greta today?
You are destroying my planet, and you should be ashamed.
Poor kid.
Greta on the Shelf is programmed to
Oh,
detect
boy.
all kinds of environmental atrocities your kids might commit.
Turn that light off. Close that refrigerator door. Is that a plastic straw, you monster? Next time I see a plastic grocery bag, I will wrap it around your head. Did you cut down a real Christmas tree? That is murder.
This Christmas, get your kids the gift that says the world is ending and it's your fault by Greta on the Shelf today.
The world is ending, and it's your fault. Well, the world might be ending, but it's not our fault. I would blame Klaus Schwab and Joe Biden and a whole bunch of other people. So I mentioned Hunter. Newsmax has the story. Check us out. Follow us on X and everything. The White House is defending this decision. When I was covering the White House, they used to say, okay, President Obama's coming back from Camp David or whatever, and aboard Marine One will be the First Lady and his daughters because they spent the weekend there or whatever. And you'd sort of get a little manifest, and then we'd have the cameras there waiting. Well, they apparently sort of misled the press yesterday and said the president's coming back from Delaware and maybe the First Lady will be there and the staffer will be there or whatever. And then, whoopsie, it looks like someone else came aboard. Who might that be? Well, maybe somebody who doesn't want to walk through the front door because they might have a Republican.
The first family's return from Delaware on Marine One, and my colleague Peter Ducey noticed someone hop off the chopper who was not on the passenger list the White House gave us. Hunter Biden. So Hunter is apparently here at the White House after defying a congressional subpoena while being indicted and facing a maximum of 17 years behind bars on the financial crimes, plus another 25 on the gun charges that he is facing, John. We were all just watching the first family's return from Delaware on Marine One.
So they sneak Hunter in. I mean, you're not really going to sneak him. You're not going to get away with it because they got the cameras waiting. But nice job by Jackie Heinrich, by the way. Mentioning Peter Ducey spotted Hunter. He was sort of in the middle of the family. You're going to see him eventually. He's a tall guy. It's not going to be, everyone knows Hunter. Where's Hunter? Hunter's hiding on Marine One. Maybe he doesn't want to walk through the front door, like I said, because guess what? There might be a subpoena waiting for him. Maybe Republicans have subpoena servers out there. We want to make sure and deliver you something. It's not a subpoena. It's something a lot more wonderful to have. It's the Wellness Company and their medical emergency kit. They got a COVID kit as well. I think we're going to have Peter Galula, the CEO, on set tomorrow from twc.health/wakeup. Get the discount. Arm your family over the holidays and beyond into 2024. What a great gift, by the way. People buy 2 or 3 of these, and that's why so many Patriots have been buying them in recent months. They've been running out, and then they get them back in stock. They're back. twc.health/wakeup. Remember, ivermectin is in there. This is what big pharma, big government didn't want you to have, but the Wellness Company will put it in your hot little hands. And Sean George, who's no shrinking violet, needed it because when his father got COVID right before the last holiday, Thanksgiving, he dipped into his medical emergency kit, was able to give the ivermectin to his dad, and he was quickly back on the mend. I haven't had a chance to take the spike support yet. This is dealing with all those spike proteins out there. Was kind of rushing out this morning. Didn't take it. And because I had to make sure I get here, Gianna and all these people, I got to make sure they got everything under control. They might not be counting and doing all that. So if you want to send me a new joke book, I'll have some new jokes in 2024. But for now, it's a good joke. So twc.health/wakeup. A lot from our word salad VP. We haven't done this in a while. We used to lead the show a lot with a new word salad. I think in a way, as I think about it, we've advanced the show into a lot of different. It's not just based on goofy Kamala Harris stuff. We have a lot of great substantive guests and everything, obviously, and always have. But it's been getting better and better, especially with VNN and everybody supporting us. But I think they've also been hiding Kamala a little bit now that I think about it, because she really hasn't been doing interviews. So there's less word salads because they keep her behind closed doors. I mean, the last time we had some word salads was when she did that 60 Minutes interview. She pops her head up and she says crazy stuff. So last night she does this MSNBC interview with Lawrence O'Donnell, I believe. And here we go.
Every election cycle we talk about this is the most election of our lifetime. Lawrence, this one is.
Wait, what?
We are literally talking about people who are attempting to divide our country in the most crude, frankly, and profound way.
So I'll let that play out. But did you catch the beginning? Usually, most people say this is the most consequential election or something of our lifetime. She said, "This is the most election of our lifetime. This is the most election." Oh,
Election of our lifetime.
what?
Lawrence, election of our lifetime.
It's funny.
Lawrence,
I think the mainstream media doesn't want us to hear that word salad. It's crazy. The most election of our lifetime. That's great. All right, a little bit of Colorado chaos, but I will quickly want to mention before we bring in Ralph and Chuck that even Ty Cobb, who has been a lawyer who worked for Trump but has been against him,
case
says
will
this.
be handled quickly. I think it could be 9-0 in the Supreme Court for Trump. So I think
9-0
this case
for Trump.
will be handled quickly. I think it could be 9-0 in the Supreme Court for Trump.
9-0 is what he's predicting. And Ty Cobb has recently said he thinks Trump's going to jail, that there's been all of, that the gag orders, that the judges are going to put him in jail, that he's really cooked on some of the, classified documents case, for example. He's been on CNN a lot. And I know Ty, and I respect him as an attorney, but he's really, after working inside the White House for Trump, has really become pretty anti-Trump. He immediately came out last night, and we're going to dive deep on Colorado, and said this is a bunch of bunk. I also don't want to forget, when we talk to Ralph and Chuck, we got to talk about the border. And this word now, at first I looked at it when I picked it up this morning, surrender. And I thought, I was waiting for chaos, this, that. You know what? They're kind of running out of words. I mean, usually the New York Post, and it's true. It is now a surrender. It took me a second because it's not as punchy maybe as what they typically, but then I'm like, okay, Biden does nothing as record number illegally cross the border. And I'm thinking, you know what, maybe surrender is the word. The Democrats have just surrendered. They're not even in the fight. And we had Ron Vitiello, who used to be the acting director of ICE under 145, President Donald J. Trump. And Vitiello was saying, which was remarkable, that when he was in working with the Obama people, said, didn't love Obama. This is 2014, he said, but we had a surge at the border. And he said, the Obama people called Vitiello in and said, what do we do? Give us a list. And he said he gave them a list, of the 5 or 10 things he would do immediately. He said they implemented most or all of them and gave them credit and said, you know what? I didn't agree with a lot of their policies, but the Obama people wanted to do something about them and realized this was a problem. And the numbers back then, Jay Johnson was the Homeland Security Secretary. And remember, he said that after being in office and listening to Vitiello and other border officials, Jay Johnson said a few years ago that if Border Patrol deals with 2,000 illegal immigrants a day, they're overwhelmed. Okay, 2,000. A couple of days ago, there was a record set. We had 12,000 illegal immigrants interacting with Border Patrol. Last night, we reported on Newsmax 2, it was 14,000. We're setting a new record practically every day. Jay Johnson, a Democrat who cared about the border, said, again, 2,000 illegals at the border in one day, and Customs and Border Patrol is overwhelmed. Fast forward, we're up to 14,000 a day, 7 times what he said would overwhelm them. And they're doing not a damn thing. Maybe they want more illegals here to vote for Democrats. Maybe they want this invasion of the country. And when people said that 6 months ago, 2 years ago, I said, come on, really? Because I want to believe that people actually love this country. But now I'm like, do they? Are they real? Why are they not doing anything? And here's the last part of that, and we'll hit Jesus Calling in a second and bring in Ralph and Chuck and get their reaction on the border. Ron Vitiello said, Ed, I love you, but 14,000 is not the real number. I said, well, that's what Border Patrol says. And so what do we got? And he said, the real number is about 20,000. Because you're right. He said 14,000 is the number Border Patrol is reporting per day right now in the last 24 hours or so. But he says there's typically another few thousand. And he was estimating there's like another 6,000 illegals lined up in Mexico at various, Arizona, Texas, California, you get the idea, trying to get in. So Border Patrol is really dealing with the 14 right at the border that have come through over 24 hours or been processed, quote unquote. And let's see, where do they wind up? We got a court date in a couple months and they disappear. And he says there's roughly another 6,000 there trying to get in at the border that then become part of the next day. So he said it's really roughly 20,000 a day they're dealing with. And Jay Johnson said at 2,000, they're overwhelmed. It's now 10 times that. Unbelievable. Well, you don't want to be overwhelmed with your immune system this winter over the holidays and everything else. ZStackLife.com/wakeup. ZStackLife.com/wakeup. Been taking this for several weeks now. It's supercharged my immune system. Absolutely love it. Make sure you are protecting yourself and your family as we deal with all these flus and everything else. This is the late, great Dr. Zelenko and his formula. His team is keeping his legacy alive. So you need to bulletproof your immune system. And I would do that by going to ZStackLife.com/wakeup. Get the discount and support the show. And we got just an incredible number in the live chat. And we love it. And it's growing and growing every day. And thank you for all that support. Let me find Jesus Calling, shall we, for today. And then bring in Ralph and Chuck. I can't wait to hear some of these Christmas carols. I got a preview of them before, and they were pretty damn good. Here's Jesus Calling for December 20th. When I joined the ranks of humanity, born into the humblest conditions, my glory was hidden from all but few people. Occasionally, streaks of glory shone out of me, especially when I began to do miracles. Toward the end of my life, I was taunted and tempted to display more of my awesome power than my Father's plan permitted. I could have called down legions of angels to rescue me at any point. Imagine the self-control required of a martyr who could free himself at will. All of this was necessary to provide the relationship with me that you now enjoy. Let your life become a praise song to me by proclaiming my glorious presence in the world. And this is inspired in part by Luke 23:35-36. And the people stood by watching, but the ruler scoffed at him, saying, he saved others, let him save himself, if he is the Christ of God, his chosen one. The soldiers also mocked him, coming up and offering him sour wine. So that's your look at some scripture this morning, and absolutely love hearing that this morning. What a day! What a way to start the day. Real quick, one more sponsor to mention: nakedorgans.com/wakeup. Get that discount. Support the show. This is the bison liver. The naked organs are those bison organs ground up. Swampy Creek tribe up in Canada. That's the only good thing that's coming out of Canada, in addition to our friend Foster. I should mention that. Foster's a good thing that came out of Canada, too. Foster would be mad at me. Come on, Foster. But the Swampy Creek tribe, they've been known for years for their longevity. How do I do 4 hours of TV a day? Well, heck, I got to get on top of this. I got to supercharge my immune system, and I got to have these ground up organs. The bison liver, the bison heart, the bison trifecta, which is their bestseller. Go to nakedorgans.com/wakeup. And whenever I think about waking up early, I think about Ralph and Chuck, the OGs, the real Americans, the real American voices, you might say, which is what Karen and I started, and it keeps growing every day. Ralph and Chuck, good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Patriots.
How about that? Yeah, wake up, Patriots. It's great to see you. You're looking festive this morning. What's happening behind you there? Usually there's guitars and stuff. Did you move to a different room? Or is that the guitar room?
Reindeer.
No, there's a couple of Christmas trees there, and that's it. I put a little Christmas lights there. And
I love it.
A little something.
Yeah, that's
Get
really
in the
nice.
spirit.
Yeah, there you are. You're in the spirit. John Ritz, let's put this up. This is something I just noticed before the show, and look, he just posted about it, 40 minutes ago. John Ritz from Nashville, Republican. Abraham Lincoln was taken off the ballot by Democrats in 1860. On April 12, 1861, the Civil War began. I truly hope and pray we do not repeat our history. Read the historical account here. And John's got a link to that. I didn't realize that he was actually pulled off the ballot. I'm going to have to read that history and dive deep. But Ralph, what's your reaction this morning?
I had no idea. That certainly sounds like history repeating itself. Mm-hmm. A little shout out to John Rich. Go to Pandora, and he's got a station, the John Rich station. Yeah, great. Nothing but patriotic music. But
hey, Rob, just real quick. I know you got the mainframe, but they have that for every artist now, so you can go.
Okay, well.
so Ralph, there's this thing now. You're right. It's called Pandora, and they put the songs together. And if you punch in like even, you know, like Ed Henry, you might even get like my favorite songs if I were to post them on there. So it's really something that John Rich didn't start. I don't want to be critical, but
Well,
just
Pandora does a good job because it's all patriotic music.
I know.
There isn't just anything that's not patriotic on that stage.
Chuck, isn't it funny when Ralph discovers things?
Oh my gosh. It's like, yeah.
Well, I knew they had stations, but I mean, his particular station is all patriotic music.
You know what's funny is Pandora also, Ralph? I got to tell you, Pandora is so like, Yana, help me here. What is Pandora? Isn't it like so like 2015 or something? Isn't that like, or 2013?
What should we be using? Spotify?
Well, people are on Spotify, Apple Music, by the way. If you type in John Rich, what will come up in their search is John Rich Essentials. And for every major artist, they have their essential collection. So if you want to find like the top 20, like if I'm a John Rich, like if someone says, hey, have you really heard about, you know, Morgan Wallen? So I've heard about Morgan Wallen, I haven't listened. Type in Apple Music, Morgan Wallen, and it pops up Essentials. And with him, you're going to get 75 songs because he's so prolific. But I don't mean to digress. But actually, that's how I listen to music now, is I'll type in a name like Post Malone and get their essentials. Wait, why are you laughing about Post Malone? Is that like a dad? That's hilarious. Wait, why is that hilarious?
Who's Post Malone?
Oh, I like Posty. Ralph, so is that edify you a little bit on this? Because I know you got the mainframe computer. A lot of people are listening to music on their phones now and stuff. So it's a whole new world. They're streaming.
Now I have Spotify and I do listen to Spotify, but when I hit the John Rich on Spotify, all I get is John Rich. But on Pandora, I get all sorts of I get Toby Keith, I get lots of other artists.
Absolutely. Did you hear that word salad with Kamala before? She was on MSNBC. I'll get back to John Rich, but I'm realizing this. Here's Kamala elsewhere in the interview.
You also need to focus on what is happening now toward what is possible and should be possible the day after, as we call it. Lawrence says, I was in Dubai recently, meeting with a number of leaders, including many Arab leaders, to talk about our commitment as the United States to a two-state solution and a commitment to doing the hard work that will require.
We do also need to focus on what is happening now toward what is possible. This is her talking about Israel.
There be no reoccupation of Gaza.
I think it's such a great word salad.
Yeah, Kamala.
Unburdened by our past. Sounded right? Isn't that the rest of it?
It sounds like unburdened by her past. Exactly. Ralph, what do you think?
Kamala, no matter where you go, there you are. What did she say earlier? This is the most election in our history. That you played.
Yeah, what the heck is that?
Getting it like Joe.
Yeah.
Forgetting words.
You know what?
Wasn't in the prompter.
I want to mention real quick, and I promise to get back to John Rich in Colorado, but I got diverted with that music conversation. And you just mentioned Joe's age. So look at this on Newsmax on X. Some White House staffers say President Joe Biden doesn't realize how old he can come across to others, according to a report. And I think it was Axios or someone said that they're getting really frustrated because when they press him, he denies it. They say, Mr. President, you might not want to do it this way. You might not want to walk across, the stage that way because you look lost. And he'll get angry with them. And a lot of people, Ralph, have been saying he really flashes a temper in other contexts. And it's Axios said, quote, I feel so much younger than my age, Biden likes to tell friends and family, which pretty much no one has said about Biden. A former official told Axios, quote, his age is clearly something voters are worried about, fairly or not. And they're yelling, nah, isn't cutting it. And yet Biden, according to this former aide, quote, he is his own worst enemy when it comes to his schedule with regard to, in that he just keeps pushing himself and people around him, Ralph, are saying enough is enough. What do you think about that?
He's turning into the get off my lawn Joe.
Yeah.
And he's his own worst enemy when he opens his mouth. And the American people see it. And there's no way in even a quasi-fair election that this guy gets over the finish line.
Yeah, Chuck? And it's not age. I mean, they keep trying to make it age, but it's his mind. He's just not there. And it's deteriorating rapidly.
It sure is. You know what else might be deteriorating, which is the establishment's hold on the Epstein client list. Let's put this up. This is also at Newsmax. Follow us on X. The names of more than 170 people with ties to Jeffrey Epstein, including victims and former employees, are said to be named in a slew of court documents a Manhattan federal judge has authorized to be unsealed. This is supposed to be happening. Now, I'm skeptical because I feel like I've read this story multiple times. Oh, it's about a judge just ruled this. And we keep hearing that it's going to happen. But this judge, Loretta Preska, on Monday ordered the documents in a defamation lawsuit that an Epstein accuser brought in 2015, quote, be unsealed in full. Previously, the names were only identified as Jane Doe's and John Doe's in the court filings. Ralph, are we finally going to get this list of names?
If the FBI is the one that's held that list, I'm suspect on the integrity of that list. I mean, you know, if there's anybody important, like, you know, ex-presidents or something like that that's on the list, they'd be expunged. We wouldn't see it. I don't trust it, even if they do publish it.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they do, though. I hope we do get a chance to see it.
Well, if Bill Clinton's on the list, we'll know it's honest, because we know he was on the Loretta Express a few times.
Lolita, not Loretta.
Lolita.
Yeah. Did you have you have an old girlfriend named Loretta, or what was on your mind there?
Get back, Loretta.
Yeah,
Beatles.
The Beatles.
Wait, is that a Beatles song, Loretta?
Yeah, Get Back. Paul used it as a lyric in one of his songs.
Your music knowledge is slaying me today from Pandora.
That was Chuck. Chuck came with that.
All right, let's put this up, guys. Let's get serious and get back to Colorado. Babylon Bee, we'll start with a joke, but it's not a joke. Democrats, it's a picture of Schiff. Democrats warn that the American people may tamper with the next election, Ralph. We the people.
By voting.
Isn't that true? They will stop at nothing, Ralph, to try and stop Donald Trump. And I think this Colorado deal is going to blow up in their face yet again.
Well, like you said, the one guy said it was going to be a 9-0. I think it's going to be 7-2 in favor of Trump. But
he'll win.
We're not stupid.
Yeah.
We're not as stupid as we didn't all go to Harvard. You know, let's put it that way. You know, there's a lot of people out there that didn't go to an Ivy League school, and we see what's going on.
And Colorado, they're already stealing elections. Look at Tina Peters and what she exposed. And, you know, so they don't even need to do this. This is just to keep them off the primary ballot.
Yes, absolutely. Let's put this up, guys. Travis and Flint does a good job of holding the left's feet to the fire. The group who sued to keep Trump off the ballot in Colorado received over $1.35 million, $1.35 million from George Soros organizations. And guess what? They share employees with those morons at Media Matters, the left-wing group that's been coming after me and Newsmax and Fox and anybody that they perceive to be on their right for years now. And I think Elon Musk is suing Media Matters because of their defamation of him. This is foreign interference, Travis writes, in our election. Not only should Soros be arrested, groups like Crew and Media Matters should be fully investigated and shut down. Ralph, the idea that this money, you know, this is a Soros-backed initiative to take Trump off the ballot. It's failed in Michigan. It's failed in Florida, a number of states. And yet they get these morons, left-wing justices on the high court of Colorado to take it down. Okay, I agree. Maybe the U.S. Supreme Court will restore some order here, Ralph. But as you know, there's nothing for certain in this upside-down world right now. And the way the judicial system is stacked against conservatives and Trump in particular, Ralph, I don't think it's a guarantee that the U.S. Supreme Court is going to fix this, right? I mean, am I wrong? I mean, can we trust any of this?
They didn't look at the 2020 election, and that's my concern as well. You know, they doxed Brett Kavanaugh, and they were in front of his house yelling and screaming all day. One guy tried to kill him and his family. So I don't know. Are they intimidated? I guess we're just going to have to wait and find out.
Chuck?
It certainly won't be 9-0. As we were talking,
right?
At least 7-2 or.
Well, let's hope they jump in.
Well, Ketanji is gonna. She doesn't know what a woman is. She doesn't know. So how do we think she knows what the Constitution is?
Ketanji, you're right. Okay, I mentioned Jamie Raskin before. He's one of the Democrats who's been lecturing us about threats to democracy. So he's from Maryland, just like Ben Cardin, who lectured us about desecrating the Capitol on January 6th. And we got some J6 news coming up. And then Cardin has a staffer who desecrates the hearing room with that video that we all know about. Here's Jamie Raskin, who has been lecturing us about threats to democracy. Here's his reaction.
Question of law. It's like if a 14-year-old tried to run for president, would that person be kept off of the ballot because the Constitution says you have to be 35 years old to run for president? And this disqualification clause says you cannot be on the ballot for president, or you cannot serve as president if you have participated in insurrection or rebellion against the United States. And so I would think that regardless of what your politics are, what your party is, everybody should agree that this is a question of law that's got to be settled by the courts.
He loves what Colorado did. What a fraud, what a phony. And by the way, what they're basing insurrection on, as I understand it, is the sham January 6th committee saying that Trump participated in an insurrection, Chuck. And meantime, when Jack Smith, even crazy Jack Smith, did not charge former President Trump with insurrection in that special counsel investigation, Chuck, they didn't go that far.
Or any of the J6ers, right? They got them trespassing and obstructing official meeting, but they can't go near it, and they would if they could, So I think they even know deep down that it's ridiculous argument to make.
Yeah, Ralph.
Well, Senator Johnson was in the news yesterday saying that, hey, the stuff is coming out about January 6th. It was staged. It was there were definitely informants there. There were as you have said and other people have said, that one cop that's waving people in, and the doors are wide open, and the mob. It was just a mass of humanity just kind of like flowed into the Capitol. And they want to call that an insurrection. Well, he wasn't charged. It wasn't an insurrection. And the 14th Amendment doesn't say president. It lists all the other officers and electors, but it doesn't say president.
Well, okay. I want to get back to Colorado, and I promise to do it. And I don't want to jump around too much, but J6 is a big part of this because they're claiming insurrection. And when, as Chuck accurately said, they didn't charge Mr. Trump or the J6ers with insurrection. So this is a phony charge, number one. But number two, Ralph just mentioned that we've reported on the show about Clay Higgins and others talking about cops waving some of the Patriots in and whatnot. Well, Clay Higgins has done an interview with Laura Logan, and people in our live chat are saying, hey, get Laura Logan back on, which we'll do. And I've talked to her off the air, but she's busy doing her own stuff, so she can't just hop on all the time. But I don't know if you guys saw this. Clay Higgins, who has been calling out Christopher Wray under oath at hearings on J6, and we played that, Chuck, you remember, a couple weeks back. He's now done an interview where he's revealed that he's seen video evidence of police on January 6th walking into rooms and then coming out of those rooms dressed as Trump supporters and construction workers. This is what Congressman Clay Higgins of Louisiana says.
That I'm able to reveal that stuff, I will. I mean, if you clearly have men dressed as Trump supporters walking around inside the Capitol, on the other side of police officers who are, to one extent or another, not engaged with them, like they're not concerned about them. Then you have a set of closed doors, like exterior doors and interior doors closed, and you have police officers positioned outside, and then in between the two doors, and then on the inside of the second set of doors weren't open yet.
What
so if you
time
have
was
video, this was a couple of the videos that Trump was still speaking. And then on the inside, looked like Trump supporters walking around in groups of 5 or 6. So these would be clearly separated physically and by doors and by police officers from the guys on the outside. So any reasonable man would come to the conclusion, when you have videos of the doors being opened and police officers allowing Trump supporters that had gathered at the door to now enter, no violence, just walking in, just come on in, some fist bumps and come in a second set of doors open, and then there's a group of Trump supporters on the steps, the interior steps, saying, come on, this way, this way.
What does that
Any
tell you?
reasonable man would look at that and say, this was a coordinated effort by law enforcement to have these people come in. So who was that? It had to be, I think it's nefarious forces and part of the whole agenda of the FBI with their involvement of this whole thing. We have other evidence, specific observations of police officers, Capitol Police or Metro or both, entering rooms and here in the Capitol in uniform and coming out as Trump supporters and construction workers. So
You've seen that.
yeah. So
Why has that video not been released yet?
One would say that's a pretty good clue.
Yeah.
The other reason that we believe is just practical to have someone that knows how to get around. I mean, you know yourself, you can't walk around this place and know where you're going. You have to be here for years and
The
years.
Capitol is a maze.
That's right. And it's incredibly difficult to get around. You have to know where you're going. So you had to have people that were very familiar with the Capitol itself in order to lead some random groups of citizens that have come from every corner of the country. In many cases, never been to DC before, much less walked around in the Capitol. So it just makes sense that the Trump supporters that were leading the way and were clearly already inside the Capitol before the doors were open were working in coordination with the FBI agents and assets that were embedded into the crowd. In some cases, in these groups had been embedded for months. This is ugly stuff we're discussing, but the American people deserve to know the truth, and I intend to see that it happens.
Hats off to him being a patriot. Chuck, had you seen that interview before?
I've seen clips. And then another clip that I saw, he talks about the buses that they had the
buses.
FBI agents on, and they got the VIN number and, the registrations, and they're tracking, who exactly got that bus there.
Absolutely. And he's asked Chris Wray about that, as I mentioned, under oath, and got weird answers. And now, Ralph, what about police officers, law enforcement going into rooms in the Capitol and coming out with like a costume change, which is ridiculous and absurd. And it gets to what Tucker and others have suggested was a setup. They come out with red MAGA hats and then they infiltrate the crowd. And is this why maybe we didn't see all the J6 videos? I mean, what keeps happening? Tucker shows some and then it's pulled back. John Solomon shows some, it's pulled back. And then Speaker Johnson comes in, Ralph, and shows some of it and gets some credit. But, where's the video? If Clay Higgins has seen it, where's this video for all of us to see?
I would like to see it, and I would like to see it without blurred faces.
That's what they're doing.
They're blurring the faces, so we don't know, is this a cop or is this a real, or was this an actual protester?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we all see it's a setup. I mean, we know that. That's why Pelosi denied the officers to be there, right? What was it?
The National Guard.
Thank you, National Guard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Trump wanted like 15,000, and she said no, it'd be a bad look. No, 15,000 would keep people out of the Capitol. They wanted people to go in the Capitol. They opened the doors. It was bait. They baited this from the beginning.
Yeah,
there you go.
And Higgins has just got the receipts. That's all. It's
all right,
going to come out eventually. The truth will come out.
There you are. And he's got the receipts on J6. You need to get some receipts from the wellness company. You need to go buy the medical emergency kit. How about that, Ralph? I see you like that. twc.health.
I'm on the bison liver. That came.
It came in? All right, I'm going to get to that, Rob. You're jumping ahead.
Well, I'm just letting you know. I'll tell you what, I got it my mail comes kind of at night, so I got it around dinner time, and I took 3, and it gave me such an energy boost. I don't suggest you take 3. I couldn't get to sleep till 1 a.m.
Wait, well, you maybe should take it a little early. I tell you what, I'll jump ahead then. Go to nakedorgans.com/wakeup. It certainly woke up Ralph. The bison liver is what you took, or the bison?
I took the bison liver, yes.
All right, bison liver. I'm going to take that again because I need another pep. Maybe in the final stretch of the show here, I'm going to be like Ralph. I'm going to be jumping around.
I shouldn't have taken 3 all at once. It said you could take 6, so I said, well, I'll just do 3 now.
Magic number.
But, I did feel it without a doubt. Now I just do 1 at a time.
All right, nakedorgans.com/wake up. Like to see that Ralph is supporting the sponsors. He's always done that with Beard Vet and others as well. nakedorgans.com/wake up. But I got to probe you on the what's up with the mail delivery at night that you dropped in there. I mean, I feel like mailman, and I'm a mail, I like to deliver mailman.
I know.
I try to do it in the morning.
We need you on the route, Ed. You'd get it done. I guess my street is the last one.
Delray Beach, they're delivering the mail, Chuck, at 6 p.m. Have you heard of such a thing?
I've just been exposed to it for the first time. I'm in a condo on the beach. And there's packages coming at all hours. Usually it's an Amazon delivery guy, but
the traditional mailman used to come more in the morning and in the daylight. So I like to see this. So you get the mail. Anything interesting come in last night, Ralph?
Well, the bison liver I got last week, but all I get, I've always been an advocate of we need the mail maybe twice a week. I mean, what do you get in the mail besides junk? And you don't even get your bills in the mail anymore. They all go to my mainframe.
You go to the mainframe, and that leads me to my final question on this before we get back to Colorado, which is in your mail deliveries, Ralph, do you typically get those cassettes from Columbia when you do the deal? 11 cassettes for $1, and then they keep sending you the mail. Remember that?
I'm still getting the records.
The records. That's the thing about the mainframe and Ralph, Chuck, is that a lot of the things that Ralph's an old man, a lot of it comes back in style. So he could just keep.
That's right.
It's great.
Nothing like vinyl.
Vinyl's in.
There it is. All right, let's get serious. Let's put this up, please, Yana. RFK, he's really faded. He was a truth teller-ish guy at the beginning, and then he kind of went off the rails with reparations, other thing. But I love that he last night writes this, guys. Trump blocked from the ballot in Colorado. When a court in another country disqualifies an opposition candidate from running, we say, quote, that's not a real democracy. Now it's happening here. And that was my point with Jamie Raskin being a phony. And then he responded to himself, if you look at this closely, because I'm sure he got some hate. I'm not a Trump supporter, RFK Jr. said. If I were, I wouldn't be running against him. But I want to beat him in a fair election, Ralph, not because he was kicked off the ballot. Let the voters choose, not the courts. And Ralph, it's like RFK Jr. is speaking common sense there, like Trump speaks common sense. And yet Biden, didn't want him anywhere near the debate stage, probably because RFK Jr. would have been spitting truth bombs. And I love that he stepped up and said, hey, what the hell are you doing to Trump? This is BS.
Like you said, he is a truth teller, and like I've said, I think he's a real Democrat. He's what the Democrats used to be when Kennedy was Democrat, and he's, I don't know, maybe he's going to siphon some of the Never Trump votes over his way. But if it's a Never Trump vote, it wouldn't have gone to Trump anyway. Kudos to him.
Yeah, pardon me. I didn't mean to, but he could siphon Kennedy, some traditional Democrats that might have been Trump Democrats, union workers that could go home to Biden in 2024, perhaps, if they don't really like Trump. But maybe now they would, if they were like disillusioned or something, and maybe now they'll go to RFK as an independent, and some of those Democrat votes will be siphoned off. To your point. Now, Chuck, we've talked a lot about Vivek. I thought it was interesting. He had guts.
Just tried to bar President Trump from the Colorado ballot using an unconstitutional maneuver that is a bastardization of the 14th Amendment to our U.S. Constitution. This was a provision, Section 3, that was designed to bar Confederate members, people who switched to the Confederacy, from actually being able to serve. That's very different than what's at issue here, to say the least. This is a hollowed out husk of what the country was built on. The basic principle that we, the people, select our leadership, not the unelected elite class in the back of palace halls. That's old world Europe, not the United States. That's why I'm making a pledge today that I will withdraw. I pledge to withdraw from the Colorado GOP primary ballot unless and until Trump's name is restored. And I demand that Ron DeSantis and Chris Christie and Nikki Haley do the same thing, or else these Republicans are simply complicit in this unconstitutional attack on the way we conduct our constitutional republic. I refuse to be complicit in that. I think what they're doing is wrong. And I think it's up to Republicans to step up and stand up with a spine for our country's future. That's really what's at stake, whether we, the people, actually have a say in deciding who leads this country.
I love what he's saying. I look in our live chat. L. Hildner says, wow, RFK Jr. makes a stronger statement than any of the rhinos running for president, except for Vivek, Chuck. And I want to put this up. Alex Brusewitz, who works for the Trump folks, you can't make this crap up. Even Chris Christie has condemned the Colorado Supreme Court decision before, as he calls him, Rob DeSantis. Rob is a POS. I think he was doing this early in the night before DeSantis finally put out a weak statement. This is another example, Chuck, it seems to me, where DeSantis is almost rooting for Trump to be off the ballot, because it would help him. And just like with the indictments, he's always slow to react. And Vivek comes out and says, you know what? I'm going to have some guts here. You want to take out Trump? I'm walking away too. I'm coming off the ballot. I'm going to take a stand here. I think that's why I know Vivek's not perfect, but Chuck, he's got guts.
Oh, he's got guts. I love everything he says. Some people say he's new to these ideas, but he's saying the right things, and he's a truth speaker. And yeah, DeSantis and Haley, they should have been right on it and making a forceful statement like that.
Yeah.
They're not ready. They're not ready to be president. Certainly not to get the nomination for the GOP.
Yeah. Ralph, Colorado Republican Party posts this, which is interesting. You won't have to, Vivek, because we will withdraw from the primary as a party and convert to a pure caucus system if this is allowed to stand. Now, we think the U.S. Supreme Court is going to step in anyway, but I think it's interesting, Ralph, that rather than running from Trump, there are some party leaders, and I wouldn't put DeSantis in that camp, as Chuck accurately noted, like the Colorado GOP, saying, no, we're not going to let this stand. I thought that was an interesting statement, Ralph.
I don't see how you don't take a stand like Vivek took. I don't see how the other candidates don't then back what he said and say yes, us too.
Yeah.
This is what if they do? They want to start another civil war? Is this where this is going?
Maybe that's what they want. I mean, look at surrender. They're allowing all these illegals in, guys, 14,000 or more per day. There's terrorists who are getting in. We know that people from the terror watch list, Chuck, have already gotten in. And the New York Post calls it surrender. Biden's doing nothing, Chuck.
No, they're intentionally doing it. Why? Trying to bring this country down, I think.
All right. Well, I guess what?
Revolution.
We've got patriots who are standing up like Ralph and Chuck, and we got patriots at the wellness company. We'll talk to the CEO, Peter Glooly, tomorrow. twc.health/wakeup. Ralph kind of rudely interrupted my last mention of the wellness company. No, it was kind because he was talking about another sponsor. So he's got the naked organs out there in Delray. Maybe I should rephrase that. But he's got the bison organs out there in Delray. You got an old man out there by himself waiting for the mailman with the naked organs. I don't know. It sounds like a weird story. twc.health/wakeup. Get the discount, support the show. The medical emergency kit, they got the COVID kit. You've got Spike support, which I take every day. I know a lot of our patriots out there, like George Colella, are taking it. And Dr. McCullough's Healthy Heart and Muscle Formula as well. He's a great patriot, Dr. McCullough. And we only tease Ralph because we love him. You only tease the ones you love. Frank Lutz, somebody you probably don't love a lot, not a big Trump fan. We know this, okay? From day one, he's been anti-Trump and pro-McCarthy and establishment. Guys, I don't know if you saw this clip yet. This is going to carry the internet today. Luntz's reaction to Colorado. You got to watch this.
And for more on the political impact, we're joined now by pollster and communication strategist Frank Luntz, who has been getting the pulse of Trump voters for years. So the obvious first question, Frank, what do you think the impact of this ruling will be on their support for him?
It's going to be exactly what the indictments did. It's going to be exactly what the criticisms have done. Donald Trump thrives on negativity. He thrives on legal systems that try to hold him accountable. And I'm convinced that his polling numbers are going to go up. Just today, the New York Times published 6 key swing states and had Donald Trump up beyond the margin of error in 5 out of the 6. The polling earlier a month ago was significant. Trump is gaining. The more that he is prosecuted, the more that he is condemned, the higher his numbers go as people rally around him. And I would say to the judges, as I said to the Justice Department, you're actually making it more likely that Donald Trump is elected next November by how you are pursuing this. You don't explain the decisions. You don't put things in context. And so Trump climbs and climbs and climbs. And right now, he's beating Joe Biden clearly nationwide.
Well, for the judges would say, look, we're just going by the law without fear of favor. And I mean, but does the context even matter to Trump supporters? Because there have been, I mean, tonight's ruling was really lengthy, explaining point by point why they believe he incited the insurrection, why the 14th Amendment applies to him. But to the average Trump supporter, does that context even matter? Is this more about, once again, Trump is the victim of the deep state kind of thinking?
It actually proves Trump's point. It proves that the people in charge, the people in power, are trying to take him down. But it's not, you're not trying to reach all the Trump voters. You're simply trying to reach 3 or 4% of them that will make a difference in this election. And make no mistake, there's very few undecided voters right now. There are very few people going back and forth between Trump and Biden. It's more about those people are trying to decide whether or not to vote. And I got to tell you, Nikki Haley was gaining and gaining and gaining every single day. But she's going to be lost in the coverage for the next few days, maybe for the next couple of weeks. As Trump turns this to his advantage, he's
turning it to his advantage, guys. Ralph, I think Luntz nailed it. I know people don't like him, but if you have a guy who doesn't like Trump saying, hey, this helps Trump, you got to listen. And his reasoning is, it plays right into Trump's hand. These fools keep attacking him, and he's out there, Ralph, saying, they're not coming for me, they're coming for you. I'm just in between you and them. And then here they are. The them attack him yet again. And Vivek stands up for him. Frank Luntz is even saying the man's going to win over this. Ralph?
Well, he said it's given him an advantage, but he also said that Trump thrives when the courts try to hold him accountable. Mm-hmm. So he's given credence to what Colorado did and basically backing it up. But I didn't like what he said, and it's on CNN.
But isn't Luntz saying, yeah, I kind of agree that he should be held accountable, and he doesn't. But this is only helping him, Ralph, is his point.
Yes, but he also, to me, he painted Trump supporters as just a bunch of blind lemmings that are just going to follow Trump off a cliff or wherever he goes.
Right.
And certainly not the case.
Stupid commentary. My point is, the guy who thinks you're a lemming instead of a patriot is admitting that they can't stop Trump, maybe. Isn't that important?
Well, he's right. They can't stop Trump in a fair election.
In a fair election is the caveat, Chuck.
Yeah, he's got it wrapped up. And but I agree with Ralph. The thing that stood out was the journalist, journalist, whoever she was.
Pamela Brown, I think, yeah.
Thinks that the insurrection, it was an insurrection. They they're lost. Their
narrative.
So entrenched in their positions.
Right, but I totally agree. I'm not arguing with you guys, but I look at it a little differently because maybe I'm just have a slightly different perspective as a journalist. Is that